Okay, welcome back. We are up to now the final Mishnah in the second paragraph of Hashana. Previously we had machloket between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yoshua. It's going to be very important, you'll see, about whether to accept certain witnesses as being kosher or not when they come to testify upon the moon. Look back at Mishnah Chet if you don't remember the machloket, but that's a machloket whether or not to accept them. And based on that machloket, Rosh Chodesh will fall out either on one day or will fall out on the next day. And based on when Rosh Chodesh falls out, of course, that's going to affect when the Chag falls out. And in particular for our Mishnah, when Yom Kippur falls out. So the story is they had machloket between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. These witnesses showed up. Rabbi Gamliel accepted them. Rabbi Yeshua refused to accept them. So again, the case of the exact case, look back in the previous Mishnah if you do not recall. Shalach lo Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel sent to Rabbi Yeshua. Right, there's machloket whether or not to accept these witnesses. Rabbi Gamliel did accept them. Not only did he accept them, he sent Rabbi Gamliel sent to Rabbi Yoshua and said as follows: Gozrani alecha, I'm giving you a gzerah, decreeing upon you, shetavo etzli, you should come to me, b'makelcha u'ma'otecha, with your makel, with your stick, carrying your stick, u'ma'otecha, and your money bag, b'yom ha'kippurim, on Yom Kippur, shachal liyot b'cheshboncha, as it falls out according to your cheshbon, according to your calculations. Meaning our machloket, when Rosh Chodesh is going to affect when Yom Kippur is, and I'm making zera upon you that the day that you think should be Yom Kippur, you need to come to me, violating Yom Kippur, holding your stick and holding your money bag with you. So what's Rabbi Yeshua to do? On the one hand, he feels that this is Yom Kippur. On the other hand, Rabbi Gamliel, who was in charge of the Beit Din, he was the person the head of the Beit Din at that time, said that it's not Yom Kippur. Not only is it not Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to keep Yom Kippur on that day. So halach mitzvah Rabbi Akiva meitzin. So Rabbi Akiva went, and he found that Rabbi Yeshua was in great distress. Amar lo. So he said to him, Yesh lilmod mikol ma she'asar Rabbi Gamliel asoi. So I can teach you, I'll tell you, I've learned that anything Rabbi Gamliel says to do, asoi, it's done. Rabbi Gamliel, in his position as head of the Beit Din, whatever he says the halacha is, it's done. Shne'emar, Eila Mo'adei Hashem Mikra'ei Kodesh, Asher Tikru Otam. The pasuk says in Vayikra Perek Gimel, Eila Mo'adei Hashem. These are the Mo'adim of Hashem, the special times of the year, as decreed by Hashem, Mikra'ei Kodesh, that are considered holy. Asher Tikru Otam, that you should declare them. Asher Tikru Otam. We'll focus on those words. That you shall call them. Bein Bizmanan, Bein Shalom Bizman. Whether or not it's the right time or the wrong time. Even Rabbi Gamliel is wrong, since he's in charge of the Beit Din, and Beit Din declared that day to be Rosh Chodesh. Therefore, that is Rosh Chodesh, and what follows is what Gamliel says Yom Kippur is Yom Kippur. Whether or not, Bein Bizmanan, whether it's the right time, it's Shalom Bizman, or if it's not the right time. Ein li Mo'adot ela elu. These are considered the only Mo'adot. This is considered Moed. Nothing else is considered a Moed. So even though you don't think it should be that's not the correct day, it doesn't matter. Gamliel is one in charge of the Beit Din, he declared it, and that's what the Torah says, Asher Tikru Otam Mo'atam. That's what creates the day of Yom Kippur. The Kedusha of the day of Yom Kippur is based on Asher Tikru, that which was declared by the Beit Din. The Mishnah continues, Balo Eitzel Rab Dosa ben Harkinas, who we saw in the previous Mishnah, came to Rab Dosa ben Harkinas, whose opinion you'll recall he agreed with. Amar lo, in Ba'in Anu Ladun. So Rab Dosa ben Harkinas said to him, if you're so worried about this, in Ba'in Anu Ladun achar Beidino Shaman Gamliel, if we're going to judge, literally Ladun, to judge or to question the Beit Din of Rabbi Gamliel, right? You're going to question because you disagree with what Rabbi Gamliel said. Shrichim Anu Ladun, we have to question. Achar Kol Beit Din Beit Din she'amad mimot Moshe v'ad achshav. We have to question every Beit Din that ever stood from the times of Moshe until now, right? How can you ever trust any Beit Din? How do you know ever to trust them? Why? Excuse me. If you're going to question Rabbi Gamliel's Beit Din just because you disagree with him, every single Beit Din also you could question because maybe they did something you didn't think was right. So therefore, how do you know that any Rosh Chodesh was ever right? Any holiday was ever celebrated the right way? Right. So the pasuk says, equals a different pasuk, that Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron, Nadav, Avihu, and the 70 Zakinim went up towards Har Sinai. Lama lo nitparshu shmotan? The Mishnah asks, why, or Dosa asks, why weren't their names, all their names, Shel Zakinim, of the elders, weren't they all set out explicitly? These are the elders. Tell us who they are. Told us who Moshe was, who Aaron was. Tell us the Navi. Why not tell us the names? Elalamir, to teach you, Shekol Shlosha Ushlosha Sha'amdu Beit Din Al Yisrael. Any three people They get up as a Beit Din of Yisrael. They get up and they take on that stature of being a Beit Din over Bnei Yisrael. They're accepted among Bnei Yisrael. Harehu kibeit dino shel Moshe. It doesn't matter what their names were, because any people who are accepted to be the Beit Din of that time, they are like Moshe Rabbeinu's Beit Din. They have that stature just like Moshe Rabbeinu's Beit Din, and therefore you can't go and question what they did, because once you start questioning, then Imla Davar Sof, as we say, there's no end to it. You question what any Beit Din ever did, and if you do that, then you'll have no you have no standing. You have nothing to know. You have no way of knowing what you could ever really rely on. So therefore, if the Beit Din or Rabban Gamliel said this, that's it. They said it. So both of them, in their own way, Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Dosa and Harknas were telling Rabbi Yeshua what Rabbi Gamliel said is what he said. It's the way the system of the Torah works. Whenever the Beit Din declares it to be Rosh Chodesh, that is Rosh Chodesh, and whether or not you agree it should be Rosh Chodesh doesn't matter. What happened? So Rabbi Yeshua took their advice. Nato maklo uma'otav biado. He took his stick and his money bag in his hand. V'halach liyavna, and he went to Yavna. Eitzer Rabban Gamliel. That's where Rabban Gamliel was located at the time. Yom Shachal Yom HaKippurim Liot B'Cheshbono. On the day that Yom Kippur fell out, according to his calculations. Amar Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel saw him coming. He stood up. Uneshako al Rosho, and kissed him on the head. Amar lo bo v'shalom. He said to him, come v'shalom, come in peace. Rabbi v'talmidi. He called him my Rebbe, v'talmidi, and my student. He's both my rabbi and my student. What does that mean? The Mishnah concludes, Rabbi v'chachma. You're my rabbi in wisdom. He admitted that he's greater than him. Rabbi Yeshua was greater than him, Rabban Gamliel, in wisdom. The Talmidi, but nevertheless you're my student. Shekibalta et dvarai. Being that I'm in the position of the Beit Din, you understood that you have to accept my word, and that's what you did. That's why he stood up and kissed him, and he was so happy that he was his Rabbi b'chachma, even though he was greater than him in wisdom. He was still his Talmid in the sense that he took Rabban Gamliel's word, and he kept Yom Kippur on the proper day, and he came to him just as Rabban Gamliel had instructed. That is the end of the second Perek. I hope you enjoy the videos, and please look back and review. There will hopefully be some review questions also online available for you to do to help you with your review. Bye-bye.